There is a more effective solution than just promising yourself you're going to have just one last binge. Back in 2018, I kept telling myself that it would be okay if I gave in to a strong urge to binge because it's just going to be the very last binge. There would be so many days where I would come home from work. I was a personal trainer and a fitness instructor at the time. My husband and I had our own fitness studio back in 2018. And I would be, working at my desk and I would literally not even have dinner because I'm like, there's not even a point of eating now because I know I'm going to go home and binge. Like I knew I was going to come home and binge. So I'm like, I'm not even going to bother having dinner and eating these calories because I'm just going to go home and binge and it's okay because tomorrow I'll do better. This will be the last time I binge. And it's so easy to convince yourself you're never going to binge again, right? When the strong urge to binge hits, it's so easy to be like, I must give in, right? I have to give in, but it's just this one last time. Until another strong urge comes again and the same cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. Because it's never just the one last binge. It's never one more time. It's one more time today and it's one more time tomorrow and it's one more time the next day. And I remember after a binge just feeling like so bloated, so full, so ashamed, so embarrassed, so disgusted in myself. And not only embarrassed by how many calories I was consuming, but so embarrassed of like, you told yourself that you're never going to binge again last week. You told yourself yesterday you're never going to binge again. And I literally remember you guys sitting on the toilet, like crouched over with my arms wrapped around my stomach, feeling so sick. Like not even just disgusted in myself, like I literally felt sick because I would eat so much. And in those moments, I'm like, that's never gonna happen. I'm never gonna let that happen to myself ever again. And I would look at myself in the mirror. Like I would literally be hovering my body over the counter in my bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. You are never going to binge again. I promise I'm never going to do this to you again because it was uncomfortable. And I knew that that was not self-respect. I knew that that was not self-love. And I was in so much pain. My stomach was killing me, the cramps, the pain I was in. I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. And it's so easy for motivation to be super high after a binge to be like, that's never going to happen again. You tend to promise yourself that that's never going to happen again right after a binge. And I remember, either that same day or the next day, I would literally spend hours crafting up a plan for how I was going to eat the next day. Right? When you're so full, you're like, I'm never going to do it again, going to get back on track. I would, get in my workouts. I would literally create like a 30-day plan, or I would create a meal plan, or, create these rigid rules. Okay, I'm going to drink more water and I'm going to get back on track and whatever it was. And like that felt fun to me at the time of like creating this plan. But gosh, I literally spent so much time creating a plan that I never executed on because it was always so unrealistic. Right. And I'm sure you guys can probably relate. Like I would spend hours. I'm not even saying like just like 20 minutes. I would spend hours crafting up this perfect plan for myself. Even I used to be into like Beachbody and I would look up like the insanity workouts and I would literally put in my calendar, okay, like this day is this, you're going to do this workout and this day you're going to do this workout and everything needed to be so perfect. And then by day 3, I wouldn't even be following it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I messed up, got to create a new plan. And my life was just like planning. It was never executing. And if you spend your life planning, you're not going to get results. When you spend your life executing and taking action, you're going to see far better results, even without a plan. Seems so backwards, but it's the truth. So to craft up this plan for myself, you're going to drink lemon water, you're going to get in your workouts, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, blah, 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 blah. And the next urge would come. It would be so strong. My whole body literally would just feel so uncomfortable. And I'm like, there's literally no way that I can just not give in. And I was like, where's my motivation when I need it? Like, where's the motivation when I was sitting on the toilet? Like, that literally made me feel like I was never ever going to do that again. I was never going to binge again. And now that I'm not hovering over the toilet seat with my arms wrapped around my stomach feeling so sick, like maybe I can just do it one more time. Because this time I won't eat as much. I won't let myself get there. But the same thing would happen because as soon as you start a binge, you can't just like stop after a minute. You get into the all or nothing mentality. You're like, well, since I already had 7 cookies, I might as well finish the box. Motivation gets out the window. And this is why you can't rely on motivation to stop your binge eating. Motivation is not a solution to ending binge eating. Motivation is not going to stop a 10, 20, 30-year battle with food. Motivation doesn't change your mind. Motivation doesn't change your relationship with food. Motivation doesn't get rid of your binge urges. Motivation doesn't help you become less impulsive with food. Motivation's high right after a binge or on a Monday morning, so high. And then all of a sudden when the urge hits, it's like, where did it go? It's so easy to let the urge convince you that it's going to be a good idea, that this is exactly what you need. Because you know what's on the other side. Yes, you know there's also going to be guilt and shame and regret, and you're going to feel so bloated, but at the time, you don't give a flying crapola. You're just like, I'm uncomfortable right now. I must give in. I don't care if I'm bloated. I don't care if I feel so full. Right now, I am even more uncomfortable, so I have to give in. Relief is coming in just a few minutes. And then it's fine because it's like, well, then I can just make another promise to myself that I'm not going to binge again. Right? And it's like this cycle just repeats itself. Like I knew that I was going to feel uncomfortable, but I'm like, well, this is just going to be the last one. Just this one time because, oh, you know, I have these cookies in the house, or just one last time because like I made banana bread yesterday, so like I might as well just finish it. Oh, just this one time because I'm going out for dinner. Oh, just one time. It's never one last time. Because how many times are you going to promise yourself that you're never going to binge? And has that worked? Probably not. It has not worked for me in the past. But it's not your fault. It's not your fault. The only reason you continue to promise yourself that you're never going to binge again and you're trying to rely on motivation to try to not give into your binges is because that's the only thing you know what to try to do. I didn't know how to stop my binge eating, so I just try to motivate my way to not give in. I didn't know how to become less impulsive with food, so I just promised myself that I wasn't going to do it. And I recognized that just trying to not do it is not going to stop binge eating. You need brain-based tools to help you become less impulsive with food, so you can actually regain your control back. You need specific tools to help you to not give into your binge urges. You know how hard it is to just like say like, just don't binge? Like, I'm sure you told yourself that before. Like, I literally told myself like, just don't do it. And I'm like, if only it was that easy, I would not have spent 10 years binging. You're not going to need to promise yourself to just have one last binge. You're never going to binge again when you have the proper tools, because you're going to get to a point where you don't even feel the urge to binge. So 2018, I was promising myself just one last binge, or just trying to rely on motivation to not do it. And I binge every single day, pretty much. And then when I learned brain-based tools, I learned how to become less impulsive with food. I learned how to trust myself around trigger foods. I learned how to eat when I was hungry and stop when I was full. I literally didn't even have the desire to binge. There is no, I'm going to promise myself one last time, because you're not binging anymore. You don't have to rely on motivation. You don't have to promise yourself you're never going to binge again when you don't feel the urge. The urge is what causes you to binge. When you do this, you can have a cookie and move on with your day. When you do this, you can be home alone and have no desire to binge. When you do this, you can be on vacation around, at a social event, around all the delicious trigger foods and not binge. You can be super stressed and not turn to food to self-soothe. You can be, you can allow yourself to honor a craving without it spiraling into a binge. The only reason you are continuing to binge and continuing to rely on motivation and continuing to make promises to yourself to never binge again is because you don't know what else to do. And I was in that position as well too. And this is why it is so important to be, whether it's in my membership, whether it's in a program of mine, to actually learn the tools. You're going to be so surprised once you learn the tools, you are going to be less impulsive. Right now, you're wondering why you keep binging, but you don't have the tools yet. So of course, and I was in that place, I kid you not, 2018, I remember even like telling Andrew, my husband at the time, well, at the time he was my boyfriend, now he's my husband. And I remember telling him, I was like, tonight I'm just not going to binge. As if like that's going to be like the magic thing to stop 10 years of an unhealthy relationship with food. Like, I'm just not going to do it tonight. You know, and it never worked out. That same night, I would, message him and I'd be like, oh, I did it again. As if like I was shocked. When you learn the tools, when you become less impulsive with food, there is no promising yourself to never binge again. You literally have no desire to binge. And I never thought that was possible for me because my urges were demanding and persistent and so strong. My whole body would feel uncomfortable. I couldn't even focus on work. I couldn't even focus on anything else. I was like, I must give in. Like, I have to give in. It literally felt like an itchy mosquito bite that needed to be scratched. And I was like, I can't focus on anything else. I need to go home. I need to binge right now. And then when I started becoming less impulsive with food and I started getting rid of my urges, I was home alone and I'm like, I didn't even think about binging. I was like, who am I? Well, when you learn the tools, that's going to happen for you, right? You can't expect yourself to stop binge eating by just trying harder. Motivation is not going to stop your binge eating. When you learn the tools, you will become less impulsive with food. You'll have less binge urges and therefore less binges. So stop focusing on motivation. Stop just trying harder. That only is going to make you more frustrated because you are a motivated person. And I promise you, if ending binge eating was all about motivation, you would end binge eating by now because I know you. You are very motivated. You are very successful. You're an amazing mom. You're an amazing partner. You crush it at work. You are successful. And sometimes that can be even more frustrating because like I'm so successful in every area of my life. Why is this one area of my life, this damn relationship with food, like something that I just can't get a hold of? And that was me. Like I had my own business. I had an amazing relationship with my boyfriend at the time. Now my husband, we're coming up on our 9 years together, which might be less compared to some of you guys who've been married for like 30 years. We've only been married. This is going to be 3rd year married, which off topic. But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, if you are just continuing to rely on motivation, like you're going to stay stuck in the diet binge cycle. And there is a better way. There are specific tools, and I teach them in every single one of my programs. So get inside, be part of a community, join my community, have other people cheering you on, have other people who are committed to this process, have other people who get you, have other people who see you for you, have other people who can reassure you that you're not alone, have other people where you guys can use the badass tools together and conquer together. You don't have to figure this out on your own. You definitely don't need more motivation. Again, you are a motivated person. You crush it. You know, like I said, I was very successful. But this whole binge eating thing, I'm like, why can't I get my shit together here? And that's because I didn't know what to do. When you don't know the tools, you're just going to try to not give in. And that's not only exhausting, but you're on high alert all the time. You're constantly like, am I going to binge tonight? I don't know. Like, am I going to binge at the social event? When you don't have any urges, you can feel confident that you're not going to binge ever again. You know, people always ask me like, are you ever afraid that you're just going to binge again? And I'm like, no, because I did things properly. I reprogrammed my brain. There are no urges anymore. You know, I can be on vacation. I could be home alone. I could be around past trigger foods. No desire to binge because I've done things sustainably. I didn't just try to motivate myself to not binge. If I just continue to try to motivate myself to not binge, it would be like binge, maybe not a binge, binge, maybe not a binge, binge, maybe not a binge. And that's an exhausting way to live your life. I didn't want that. I was like, I want this gone for good. And that's why I learned the proper tools. And I reprogrammed my brain. And now I don't have to worry about going on vacation or being home alone or being around trigger foods. Foods are no longer triggering for me. And this can happen for you as well too. So whatever program you decide to join of mine, you are going to learn these programs. This is exactly what I can support you with. So stop relying on motivation and actually learn the tools to reprogram your brain to become less impulsive with food. And you can be that person that has no desire to binge.